current viewer. Hello, Midnight Rider. Thank you for coming so quickly. That's always gratifying, it's reassuring, and even I need to be reassured from time to time. Even I have my emotional needs. Today I have been talking to people about Christianity. It is helpful to talk to people because it hones the mind, really. It allows you to see how they think by reading the words that they use to oppose your ideas. And every word represents an idea. I've been thinking that people who are atheists are mostly narcissists. I have been accused of the same thing myself. I hope I do not completely lack self-awareness. I'm not saying that narcissists are evil people. I'm sure some of them are really quite nice people. But perhaps lacking in self-awareness, they think they are good people. They don't think that their way of thinking is in any way incorrect or inappropriate. And I think we should understand the nature of the enemy, and the enemy is between our ears and our gaze. We have beliefs, we have opinions, and we have our urges. And we don't want to admit that anything we have ever done was not quite the right thing. And of course, it's only to be expected that people will weaponize words. The most disturbing video that I viewed today was the one from RT by Oksana Boyko, I think her name is, and she presents Worlds Apart, and she was talking with an American psychologist, I think, about something called the Havana Syndrome, which is basically mass hysteria. Apparently American diplomats are saying that they're feeling ill, unwell. They report all kinds of odd symptoms and say that somebody must be making them ill, causing them unease. And it sounded to me like mass hysteria. And I'm afraid we are, whether we like it or not, sailing into dangerous waters. None of us are safe, whether we be majority or minority. Of course, minorities are always vulnerable to being attacked by the majority, but for the majority to attack the minority in this way would suggest that they are already traumatized by something or other, be it their mental illness, their amnesia, their dementia, their mass hysteria. I think there is a way of dealing with these things. There is still proper channels that we can go through. And I do say that all it requires is for the key person to do the right thing. But I think this person is crippled by ego. This desire not to admit mistakes, this desire to hold on to an unattractive identity of hatred, which is, I suppose, like your favourite old clothes, full of holes but very comfortable, may not have become you. My frustration is people who are really unable to sustain a focused discussion about anything at all. I might occasionally be rewarded with a response, and then it is silence, and then it is nothing, and then it is non-engagement, and then it is as if nothing was said and nothing was understood. But I think I have been clear. I have been so clear that people complain that I'm repeating myself. But then, so many people have not heard what I have been already saying for so long. For a lot of people, this is all new. And this is caused by the obstruction of people above me, people with bigger channels than me who refuse to engage in a focused dialogue with me. I do not require anyone to agree with me before engaging with me. I suppose it's quite gratifying to hear that men avoid me. I heard that 2 men avoided me at Speaker's Corner last week. You would have thought that, 2 Muslim men would be able to tell me what nonsense I speak, but no, they avoided me. Well, perhaps one of them was more intent on avoiding me than the other one. Perhaps I should have gone again today. But I got caught up in other discussions about Christianity. Now, whether you believe in God or not, I think you can agree that the best religion is the religion whose rules most people can agree to and whose belief system is, the most believable, and whose deity is the most powerful. 3 criteria: most powerful deity, most agreeable rules, most rational system, so that atheists can agree to the rules of your hypothetical supreme authority. So if I were writing a consumer's guide to religion, I would say, look for these things. If you're shopping around for a religion, you should be looking for the one with the most powerful deity. Otherwise you'll have, some other group saying, my God is more powerful than your God. And this would infuriate you. And obviously this God would have made laws for you to follow that most people can see as fair enough, even if they don't want to follow it particularly. I think we can all see that every now and then we might want to commit the odd sexual offence, perhaps, for men. But technically, fornication is a sexual offence according to Islam and the Abrahamic, Christianity even. What I mean to say is that, occasionally we may have the urge to kill, to steal, to have sex with somebody not our spouse. we see the purpose behind these rules. I don't think murderers even say there shouldn't be a law against murder. I don't think thieves say there shouldn't be a law against thieving. And even rapists might say, well, I might have raped a few women, but I don't think, and they'll think of some, they might say incest shouldn't be allowed, that people will have different degrees of observance and understanding of particular categories of crime. So I have given you a very simple system, a 7-star no-hide system by which we can shop around for the best religion. But nobody's interested because they don't think they need a religion, it seems. They don't need a religion even as their society sinks into intersectionality. I know atheists and nihilists don't care. They hope to be dead before the shit hits the fan. And so they're not going to admit that Christianity is kaput. They're not going to acknowledge that maybe Islam is the way forward. And they're not going to give up their hatred of Jews. And I'm saying, look, these Jews, you may not like them, but they serve a purpose. They remind you that something went wrong. Something went wrong in your past when you started worshipping a Jew. Why do you then cling to this religion that requires you, an anti-Semite, to worship a Jew? Why do you cling to this absurd religion? It is only because you think you can waste my time and my energy arguing with you over what is clearly an absurdity. So I'm not going to be going down that route again. It would be a sign of regression. Jay is in my Telegram group though. He's saying the same old shit again, and he thinks I'm going to platform him. But you can join it if you want. But he hasn't changed his tune at all. He's still the same old Jay, talking the same old shit about Christianity. Talking about the book that he read, his Bible, by somebody called Emmett Fox, who wrote a book for AA. So Jay thinks that a book written for alcoholics is a suitable Bible for the rest of us, just because it worked for him. But that's because he's a narcissist, you see. He thinks whatever works for him would work for everyone else. And whatever he wouldn't do, nobody else should. That's how he thinks. And of course he doesn't really believe that Jesus is God. He only knows that by pretending to be Christian, he will have a greater authority than those who confess and are open about their atheism. He's not completely stupid, but he is uneducated, but cunning. and he speaks with the assurance of a snake oil salesman, and he thinks he's going to get on this platform to spout his nonsense again. He doesn't like being accused of being an anti-Semite, but he is, he wants to ban circumcision, and, people aren't completely stupid. Jews aren't completely stupid. I'm not completely stupid. If you have a problem with Jews, then obviously banning circumcision would make them feel unwelcome, and that's the whole idea, right? People aren't that stupid. Why would you care about the foreskins of the infant boys of the people you hate? Why would you pretend to care? You don't care about them at all. The hypocrisy is sickening. But he knows, he's smart enough to know not to be too obvious about his hatred of the Jews. But it slips out. It oozes out unconsciously. And as for being an Islamophobe, well, he uses a Muslim woman with whom he had sex as evidence that he's not an Islamophobe. And of course, that cuts no ice with me. There are men who don't think women are their equal, and of course, they want to fuck them anyway. So, he would know that boasting to Muslim men that he's fucked their women would be the sort of thing that he would relish doing, and he would never have a male Muslim friend, because that would imply co-equal status. So that's not going to happen. He runs his life on fucking sluts, and he measures his success with slut fucking. So he will not be interested in higher standards of sexual morality. So that's why I won't talk to him. Oh, the other reason why I won't talk to him is because of his casual acts of treachery. So I'm not interested in talking to people who don't know their minds. He was a great supporter of Trump, and then he decided to close his bet. Maybe he got some red hot tip that Trump won't be allowed to win, so he closed his bet. And then, of course, he would have to tell everybody to not support Trump, because he would have to gloat about it. And that was what he did. And I wasn't having it. So we will have to concentrate on the question of sexual morality. Jay isn't interested in that. He's only interested in inflicting on us the fact that he doesn't like secular Quranism, but then he's a nihilist and he doesn't give a shit about posterity. He only wants to show his hatred for Jews, show his hatred for Muslims, and remind everyone that I have failed if he doesn't like secular Quranism. So that is his winning strategy in his mind. In the meantime, he claims to be Christian. But if you ask him if he believes in God, he will prevaricate. if you ask him if he believes in an afterlife, he will prevaricate. So really, he doesn't believe in God at all, let alone the absurdity that Jesus is God. And his lack of education makes him think that Emmett Fox is better than the Bible. Emmett Fox, who wrote for Alcoholics, is better than the Bible. Still, he has a convincing, bluff, masculine manner that people like. But he ain't coming here to talk to me. I do talk to more educated people. They can't really explain Christianity, and I have said so many times that Christianity is a corrupt bargain between the Catholic Church and the European monarchs to support their divine right to rule, because all mortals know that they are mortal and therefore fallible, and they need some idea of being superior to others to be respected as the national leader. So for Constantine, he had to substitute the failing Roman imperial cult for Christianity. And that was basically the deal. That Christianity was about propping up the right of absolute monarchs to rule. So, you believe in the story of, vague goodness and vague forgiveness, and somehow you trust that the absolute monarch who has power of life and death over you is being well advised by his priesthood. That's basically what Christianity was all about. It only worked for absolute monarchs, though. In the Orient, there was something called the Mandate of Heaven. In China, the Mandate of Heaven was presumed to be given to every emperor of China. Who would keep it if he governed well, and who would lose it if he didn't. It's very simple. It's a bit like dialectical materialism, really. It's a statement of something that is obviously true. So it has that persuasive factor of, being indisputable. So for China, every emperor starts off with the Mandate of Heaven that he might lose if he abuses his power and misgoverns his empire. And then somebody will take over after, displays of the Mandate of Heaven being withdrawn, through famine and pestilence and rebellion and invasion. And then the next person to take over will be presumed to have the Mandate of Heaven. A very nice and neat idea. Nobody's going to dispute it, unlike the Trinity. So the Trinity requires Christians to believe that Jesus is co-equal, co-eternal, and co-substantial with God, which is, an absurdity. But Jay doesn't care about these things. He can repeat that Britain is a Christian nation, and it would appear to be so, since Britain is the home of Anglicanism. But what makes you a Christian nation is is, well, you would have thought how many people in it who are Christian or Anglican, and we don't know because these figures are not released, and they don't want it to be released because they are vanishingly small. Jay himself wasn't even confirmed, and I doubt if he knows any other confirmed Anglicans. So Christianity is kaput, and previously he has said, well, he has agreed with me, and then he went back on it because he knew what would happen if he agreed, if he conceded that Christianity was kaput. And so he said, yeah, but no. Anyway, it is. It's kaput, isn't it? It's so kaput that Christianity has been replaced by liberalism, which is also kaput. So it can't be denied. So Jay will just waffle on about, entering the kingdom of heaven. And the people who hate secular Quranism will be nodding away and thinking how well he's doing, not liking secular Quranism, but being allowed to speak what he says on my platform. So, well, it's not going to happen. Because that would be rewarding atheists and nihilists who don't give a shit about posterity, who are people claiming to be nationalists. Mind you, Jay doesn't claim to be a nationalist, he just occasionally agrees with people who support Tommy Robinson, but he's smart enough to not affiliate himself with any groups known for their particular hatreds of particular people. He's semi-detached, non-aligned, and therefore says what he likes. But then he can't be taken seriously. But then who can? Who can be taken seriously if they never say anything properly? But going back to the question of Christianity, I have been talking to more educated people than Jay, shall we say. They can't defend it either, really. At the end of the day, it's what I believe. It's enough for me to believe that the resurrection happened. And if you ask them about idolatry, they wouldn't give a damn. It's a blind spot with Christians. They just don't see the problem with idolatry. I mean, people who are alcoholics don't see a problem with drink. People who are drug addicts don't see a problem with drugs. People who have a gambling addiction love to gamble. So they have their blind spots. But it is the easiest thing to point out to you that if you did believe in God, you would be ashamed. You would be mortified that you've offended against his commandments, and the fact that people like Jay are not is evidence of their deceit, hypocrisy, or neurosis. So obviously they can't be trusted. Anything they say cannot be trusted. But who can? People whose actions are in harmony with their words and whose words are in harmony with their stated beliefs are the ones to trust, I would have thought, because then their behaviour becomes predictable. If they say the same thing and they follow up, they follow their actions with what they say they believe, they keep their promises, they don't change their mind like the weather, then you may have some reason to trust what they say. That's me, isn't it? Midnight Rider asks, when confronted with mortality and our own death, would we want a palliative care medic or a cleric or both? Well, both, I guess. Sinead O'Connor does a lot of religion shopping. She's a Muslim these days. Yes. Yes. Women are, in a way, quite practical, you know. Why do so many white working class women, they were the first converts? Because, it's like they knew they wanted to be married mothers, and they knew that the men of their own race were not going to stick around. And so they knew if they wanted legitimate children, they would have to find themselves a Muslim husband. It really is as simple as that. And of course, Muslim men will think, well, all right, if she's going to be a good Muslim woman and a good Muslim wife and a good Muslim mother, if she's prepared to convert, yeah, I'll have her. And, that there might be sort of social advantages to having a white woman. I mean, it would be a sign of conquest, right? You're an immigrant, and the local women are prepared to marry you because their men are so hopeless, right? So hopeless that they're prepared to marry an immigrant, or, marry immigrant Muslims in droves. So they won the argument in a way. Islam has won the argument. Islam has conquered the women of the men who most hate them. Working class men most hate Muslims. And Jay belongs to that group. Well, yeah, he does. He does, really, the kind of people he mixes with. Though he would claim to come, the women that he associates with would be maybe a higher social class. But he knows how to pander to them, right? He knows how to pander to them. He's quite adept at that. Yeah, on the question of pandering, it's disgusting. I know people online, beta males, and they produce content, and it's all, stuff that that women like, pretty pictures, romantic poetry, and just saying nothing original, so nobody's offended. And then you think, why is this guy so successful? Or has so many followers? And it's like, yeah, he's got this formula. Few people, they operate on a system, and then you see, the other men who come, and they only come because of the women. The women, this content producer manages to attract. And they are really such mediocre losers, or they are charlatans, who say nothing coherent, but say it in a convincing way, like Jay does. I know he bullshits in a way that a lot of people admire. It's sickening, really, but you see people being conned, doing this thing, and I'm not surprised that your women hate you. It's disgusting. It just makes your soul inwardly cringe. Yeah, imagine having to, bear the child of somebody who's, morally repugnant. Well, you can, well, I guess not marry them, or go gay, or, well, kill yourself if forced to marry, such a repugnant person with no morals. Because you'd only be producing, some piece of trash who has even less morals than its father, right? Or you could be a woman who doesn't care about these things, obviously. Or, well, a woman might not even think these things through, but just, vote in a way that might be evidence of wanting something better, like those white working class women who converted to Islam so they could have a better chance of becoming married mothers. Anything to escape from being some pumped and dumped, never married mother, right? With variously fathered illegitimate offspring who will bring up underachieving losers that nobody cares about, who will become Tommy Robinson supporters, join the BNP. They don't want that. They want the hope of bringing up children better than themselves. And they look at the men and they see how the men are, and how they think, and what they do. And maybe that's why they vote for pro-immigration parties, to replace these men that are so contemptible to them. I'm only guessing. I'm not white, but I can imagine what a woman might feel if she thinks that her men are really the lowest of the low. Knowing that these men just pander to women. Because they want to have sex with them. So, well, I don't think Elvis and RTC might. People, it's really white. It's a white people thing. Angel in the Dot says, well, as the lads and lasses over at Ralph Streamer have recently said, without a unifying God it will be difficult for nationalists to unite. Without a common faith and belief it will become tricky. Yeah, of course. But there's only one God. There's already the Abrahamic God. And Christianity is kaput. And, well, you know what you have to do? Am I referring to P-Way individuals? Pickup artists? I wasn't thinking of those. I did have a conversation with, what's that Italian person? Davis Orini. Yeah, I've had a conversation with him when he still had his channel, and now his channel is gone. What do you mean, Howard Schoonover? Modern ideas of masculinity are perverse. What are modern ideas of masculinity? Angel in the Dock says, it's disgusting. Swipe right dating has seen huge rises in miscegenation, profligacy, degenerate sexual liaisons, and also STDs. Well, yes, it should be forbidden. Event, it says, is SK your baby? Yeah, I've called it that. Oh, why wouldn't I? I invented it. Howard Trinova says, relationships are the business of women folk. Women attract and select men. Men give them what attention they feel inclined to. Any attempt to attract women is perverse, because to attract is feminine. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, obviously, men and women, they meet each other, they like each other, they'll have to, think of ways of attracting one another's attention. What I think is most important is that men, they have to speak freely. And by that I mean they have to feel able to express their political views. And if they're too afraid to do that, then there is already a problem. And many men, in order to get pussy, will not say what they really think about many important issues of the day. And I'm afraid this practice is now instinctive. That sex with some slut is more important than the principle of freedom of speech. I mean, men willingly gave it up, right? They willingly gave up their free speech before, years, decades before all this happened. They willingly gave up their right to express their political views in order to get sex from women. We already know, or I already know. I knew many years ago that, men are just more right-wing than women. So, I think the most a man should be able to do is, I don't see how you can say you see an attractive woman and then you don't make any move towards her. Well, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. She's not going to come after you, or, it wouldn't be right for her to come after you. I think if you're interested in a woman, you should pursue her. But obviously you should, the whole point of dates is that you check her out. You listen to what she says, you find out what kind of a person she is. You don't think of, just having sex with her. In fact, you shouldn't, because, she might not want to have sex with you, or she has sex with you, sex is wonderful, but, and that means you forget about everything else. You don't check her out. Or maybe, your ability to objectively assess her is compromised by your sexual slavery to her. Never in the history of the UK has there been so many childless 30-year-old over women. Why is that? Careerism trumps motherhood. Women have become too picky. The mainstream media won't touch the subject. Well, I think today or yesterday I heard there was this radio program about I had my first baby when I was 37 or something crazy like that, and then another one when I was 39 and another one when I was 41, and I thought, well, that's unusual. You wouldn't exactly encourage this sort of thing. And all sorts of questions that you want to ask us, like, well, how did you manage to get married at 37? Were they all the same? By the same father? That's not answered. It must have been on Woman's Hour. And people are stupid these days. They really are. They can't even write a proper sentence. It's like, what are you on about? What are you saying? Do I have to keep guessing what you might mean? Because, these people, they don't even learn their own language properly. They can't express themselves, because their minds are a mess. It really is pathetic. And unfortunately, a lot of the people who identify as nationalists, they're not married fathers. They're not marriageable people. And so they're easy to mock and demonize. And they do look as if they deserve they deserve their punishment. They deserve to be mocked because they are so pathetic and uneducated and so coarse and so, well, they're larpers and losers and mentally ill. Well, what do they expect? So really, the only solution is to acknowledge that something went wrong, and people like Jay are not going to admit that because he's a Christian. And that's what he's going to be until the day he dies. He's going to be a worshipper of a Jew who hates Jews. That makes so much sense. I was going to talk about why Christianity was allowed to flourish to the extent that it has 3 global empires. And I'm saying, well, there might be a divine plan to this even, which is that because Christianity had no principles, so basically it just sort of took over the whole world, and it didn't have any decent rules about warfare. They nuked Japan twice, a city of non-combatants, and they're not sorry, they don't care, and so really the world was taken over by what they think is Christianity, but it's all crashing and burning. And when it has all crashed and burnt, the obvious religion, the obvious next religion will be adopted. And that, I think, is part of the divine plan if God exists. That makes sense, doesn't it? And what about the Jews? Well, the Jews, it is an interesting dynamic, 3 Abrahamic faiths. So right now, the Jews and Christians are in cahoots with each other. And the Jewish community would, I suppose, would be divided about, which side to support. The principal Jews would know that really they shouldn't have anything to do with Christians. And I hope to get the principal Jews to do what their principles ought to tell them to do. And that would be how the world could right itself. Right now, there aren't any courageous or principled or learned Jews able to talk about these things. Perhaps they find it hard to deal with somebody such as I. I'm not even Jewish. Who am I to tell them what to do? questions I ask are unanswerable in that they know they haven't been teaching the no-hide laws. If they had, there wouldn't be 3 global Christian empires. So they know they haven't been doing what they were chosen to do. And I mean, they can retreat and just say, well, we weren't chosen to do anything. We were just, we're just chosen, but not, but not for anything in particular. We don't have to do anything for Gentiles. That's what they're going to say, but actually, they are. Because of what their book says. A few of them are prepared to continue engaging. And that, I suppose, is better than, the response I've had from Gentiles. The thing about Jews is that they think they're clever, so, they'll engage because they think I'm stupid or something, The Gentiles, they already know they're not going to win an argument. They know I've won all the arguments, and, they only hope that, because I haven't got an army, because I haven't got a police force, they can get away with it. That's their last line of retreat. At least the Jews are useful in that they ask obvious questions, they challenge me, the Muslims are the worst. They literally can't engage properly. So you have to give it to the Jews, at least, they're not going to run away from a debate. Because they think they're smarter than us, right? But why me? Why me of all people? Why aren't I white and male? You'd prefer that, wouldn't you? It's hard taking all this from a woman. Isn't it? A foreign woman. Not even white. Or maybe even this is planned. Maybe even this is part of the plan. What could be more humiliating than having some female and foreigner tell you how to be a man, and you can't even do it, and you don't want to? Yeah, so even who I am is part of the divine plan. There is indeed a divine plan, and if there is indeed God. So, Angel and Adults, a culture of casual sex has meant that men and women are distracted from starting families because, if you... just imagine the situation when it is the rule that nobody has sex with each other unless they're married to each other. Then, and Tinder was banned. Then people would just think a bit more carefully about whom they have sex with, because whom they have sex with would be their spouse and the other parent of their legitimate offspring. So it could be instantly flipped, right? It could be instantly flipped. But nobody's talking about it, and no one in the alt-right is prepared to discuss this, because the morally compromised men who don't want to marry their girlfriends. that's what the problem is. Right? They don't want to marry their girlfriends. If they have a girlfriend, they don't want to marry her. If they don't have a girlfriend, they don't want to, offend any woman by saying that, any woman who has sex with a man not her husband is a slut. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk to you was about Fran Unsworth. Like, who the hell is she? Why was she in charge of the content of the BBC? Like, who the fuck is this woman? Anyway, she's going, but another woman is replacing her. Somebody called, Deborah Tanners or something. So we don't know. It's going to be another woman, to spread the matriarchy all over the country like muck. Right? That's what's going to happen, and you're not going to do anything about it. You're not going to talk about it. Just look at this. You know what this does? When you let this happen, the men of other races and other nations will know how weak you are. They know you're afraid of your women. Well, they'll know that you are ripe for invasion and exploitation. So who's going to be the one replacing her? That's what I want to know. So the campaign director of defund the BBC is another woman, Rebecca Ryan. But we ought to know who is going to replace Fran Unsworth, who is responsible for the content of the BBC. It's BLM content, it's intersectionality content. You know what I mean. What's her official title? Media executive. She has been Director, News and Current Affairs for BBC News. Director. She studied drama. Really? That's it? She studied drama at the University of Manchester. She was unable to get to a drama school and so switched careers to publishing in London, and she ended up with this job of controlling the content of BBC News and Current Affairs. How did it happen? She was the one who ordered the helicopter filming of a police raid on a mansion belonging to Cliff Richard, leading to the BBC being sued for breach of privacy. He sought a payment of at least £560,000. I guess he got it. No, he got 210,000 in damages, and the BBC agreed to pay $2 million in legal costs. So, yep, this woman kept her job even after what she did. What the fuck, eh? What the fuck is going on? still, plenty of you want to blame the Jews. You should just listen to BBC Woman's Hour to know that it is worse than porn. You mentioned the name of her replacement, Deborah Turness, ITN boss to be new CEO of the BBC. Jobs for the girls. Blonde, blue-eyed. What's she been doing? Why is it always a woman? Usually an underqualified woman. What, because she looks good? What? You'll get more left wing, of course, right? It's intersectionality, don't you know, mate? Never heard of her, but apparently she's had a distinguished journalistic career. Let's see what qualifications this woman actually has. Born 1967. Fucking hell. She took a degree in French and English. She did a course in journalism. That's it, huh? That's it. French and English. You can speak French and English. Graduate of University of Surrey. Postgraduate course in journalism. And then, well, she's now content director of the BBC. CEO of BBC News. She's gonna, well, control the content of the news that we're allowed to listen to. In 2011, she was the only journalist invited to the Buckingham Palace state banquet for Barack Obama. What the fuck? I guess that the deal was done there. I guess Barack Obama appointed her. She was appointed president of NBC News. Yeah, CIA. Yeah, CIA trained. Twice married. On 26 August 2011, she married John Toker, the Cabinet Office's Director of Communications for Security and Intelligence and former ITN producer. Yeah, well, you know what's going on now, don't you? You don't need to tell me. I'm sure you knew this before, but it's all in black and white. The security services and the media are one and the same. And she works for the Americans. Midnight Rider says, never in the history of UK has there been... Okay, yeah, I've read that one. Levent yielded. See, yes, well, if you are against feminism, then why are you the embodiment of it? How am I the embodiment of feminism? Define feminism. Define it. I'm saying feminism operates through bribing men with extramarital sex, and I'm proposing to criminalise unmarried parents. I am proposing to treat unmarried parents as sex offenders. So how am I the embodiment of fucking what, Levent? Levent yielded, if you're not living by your principles, then nobody will take you seriously. Now, what do you think my principles are? You don't even know what principles are, do you? What principles am I supposed to have? Go on, tell me. Dumb fuck. Gary Garner says, so the onus is on marriage rather than committed long-term relations. Yeah, I'm talking about marriage. I'm not talking about, shacking up long-term. I'm talking about not having bastards, right? I don't know how much clearer I can be about not having bastards. Midnight Rider asks, what about Tiger Woods? I don't know what the fuck he's doing. I don't care what he's doing. A long-term commitment that doesn't include marriage. Well, no. If you shack up with some woman and you pump out bastards by her, they're still bastards, right? They're still bastards. So Gary Garner says, because people that do get married have an incredibly high divorce rate these days. Yeah, I know. That's why you abolish no-fault divorce. And this is what you could be doing, right? You could be doing that. You could be proposing that. But nobody's interested. Because you can fuck sluts. So you're not interested in talking about marriage even. So yeah, keep pumping up bastards. The illegitimacy rate for Jamaica is 86%. We could be going, well, we are going there, but yeah, let's just keep saying it's okay to shack up and pump out bastards, as long as we say at the beginning that it's meant to be some long-term commitment. Don't marry then. Don't have bastards. Well, you could say you don't intend. Men could say they don't want to marry until divorce is... no-fault divorce is abolished. They could say that. It's very easy to say, but they can't even organise that. Can you imagine? They can't even organise that. At Speaker's Corner, there's this anti-feminist stall, and they can't even say that. They can't even say that. How pathetic is it? Because these beta male losers are not ever going to marry. They already know no one's going to marry them. So they're not going to talk about marriage or divorce or the abolition of no-fault divorce. They just can't think that way. And you know who's leading them? Somebody called Michael Buchanan. He can't talk about it either because, well, he's a charmless beta male, obviously bitter, obviously unattractive. And he can't talk about abolishing no-fault divorce. None of them can. But, you know, beta male losers can't talk about marriage because they already know that no one's going to marry them, and they can't bear the shame of talking about something that they won't be privy to. But nobody above them will talk about it either. So I guess you're basically fucked. You're just going to become Jamaica, but without the fine weather. Yeah, Gary, yeah, Ben, it's meaningless because gay marriage. Well, abolish it. Oh, but we can't say that. Somebody might cancel us. What's the funny question Gary's asking? Would you put unmarried people who have sexual relations in prison? No, they would be lashed 100 times. The unmarried parents would be lashed 100 times in public. That's what chapter 24 verse 2 says. I asked what my principles are. My principles are to impose and be governed by the principles of secular Quranism, obviously. Someone thinks he can trick me into letting him on by talking about some cheap shit golf celebrity. Who cares? Who cares what some cheap shit celebrity like Tiger Woods does? He can do anything he likes. I mean, you know, if you think you're gonna well, let's see what Tiger Woods has done. Too aggressive. It'll be of no importance whatsoever. This is about Tiger Woods described as too aggressive. What's wrong with that? Not allowed to be aggressive in golf or something? It's nothing. It's just usual rubbish. Yes, Gary Garner, you know, marriage is a long-term relationship, right? So Gary Garner says, so you think it affects children more if their parents have committed to a long-term non-marriage relationship, or if their parents are married but got divorced in rapid time? No, I'm not going to talk about individual cases. I'm saying that as a matter of government policy, the government should support marriage. So it's not going to make exceptions because you think that you're going to be better as unmarried parents who live together. Because then everybody can start off saying, oh, but we're committed to each other, and until you're no longer committed. So I'm saying, the government is going to treat that piece of paper as important. And if you don't have that piece of paper before you have children, then it's going to treat you like a sex offender. And that is my point. And you're saying, oh, but I'll be good. I'll make sure that I look after my bastards with my girlfriend. Right, that's what you're saying. And you're saying that you're going to do better. Well, no. You're not going to be given the exception, because then everybody else will say, me too, I'm just like Gary, I'm sure I can have bastards who I will bring up properly as long as I've been in a committed relationship with this slut I fuck and shack up with. Right? You're going to say that. They're all going to say that. Oh, Howard Schunova, yes, Speaker's Corner is in Hyde Park. So, all the government has to do is to say it's going to take marriage seriously and treat as sex offenders those that have children without a marriage certificate. But they're not going to say that because it's a matriarchy, right? A matriarchy doesn't give a shit about marriage. And that sort of thing is being promoted by the state and the deep state and the media. So, and nobody's going to say anything, right? And they're just going to blame the Jews. Is there a massive incentive to get married in Canada if you want to pay less tax? What's going on in Canada then? Couples and taxes. I don't know. Something about tax returns. I don't know. I didn't think you were trying to be annoying, but I don't know. I need a sort of pre-digested report on how marriage is going to make you pay less tax. But I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough to be an incentive. And also it needs to be a disincentive. You need to treat the unmarried parents like sex offenders, as the Quran requires. And, sex-addicted Westerners accustomed to casual sex are not going to make those sacrifices. And they will use the forces of the matriarchy to demonize anyone who suggests that. I have no regrets, Christine Ramsey. I have no regrets. We are what we are. It is what it is. Okay, no more questions. I will go then. It's nearly 90 minutes since I started the stream. I'll try and sum up what I thought I said, which is that the matriarchy is in charge of the ship of state, and the evidence is who controls the fourth estate. The most important media outlet in the UK is the BBC, and it's controlled now by Deborah Turness, and it was controlled by Fran Onsworth. They didn't really have particularly relevant degrees. They made terrible mistakes, so I guess they're just sort of front women for the deep state, probably. And, yeah, there'll be many people who still want to blame the Jews when it's quite obvious what is happening. And I do know that there are none so blind as those who will not see. And people who don't want to see are those who think that their religion is working fine because they don't want to admit that Christianity is kaput because of its idolatry and blasphemy, and they're not intellectually equipped to discuss what is idolatry or blasphemy. And I guess I'll be forever condemned to talk to people at the bottom of the social heap who won't even give their real names, who can't discuss these things and be taken seriously. And yeah, this is really what you're faced with. Your own apathy, your own lack of connections, your lack of ability to organise, your moral flaccidity and flabbiness. Thank you for listening, and talk to you next time. Okay, Midnight Rider, he's still talking about... No, I'm not... Oh, okay. The best way that you can fight this is to actually, for men to go on a marriage strike, an official marriage strike. And it's a simple thing, the simplest thing in the world, because you don't have to do anything, you're just saying you refuse to marry. You know, all of you refuse to marry, and, but, you know, you won't be able to organise it because nobody's going to organise it, right? No man will actually dare to do such a thing because they're basically too focused on fucking sluts. And if they say such a thing, if it's ever known that they're you know, the people behind this this official marriage strike, then no slut will fuck them, and then that wouldn't do. And any man who will do this sort of thing will not be able to, well, they'll be so unattractive that no woman would care that he's on a marriage strike. So the only people who could do it successfully would be eligible bachelors, right? Elon Musk comes to mind, but he's not going to do it because he's morally compromised. He sires bastard everywhere, it seems. But this is, the obvious way to organise. And I know the men won't be able to do it because they can't organise a piss-up in a brewery, and that's why their women hate them, and that's why they keep voting for pro-immigration parties to replace their own men with men from other nations and races. And that's how it is. Well, no. MGTOW is men who won't marry women. Yeah, I know that. I know what it is. And I'm saying you have to say you won't marry unless No Fault Divorce is banned, is abolished. And you won't have the courage or the fortitude to stick to your guns. You won't even start it. I know you won't even start it because, you just don't care. It's like, well, maybe I'll take my chance with this bird. Maybe I'll shack up with her, and maybe we'll have a bastard, and maybe I'll just hang around for a bit to see how it goes. And if I don't like it, I can always go. That's how you'll think. That's how this is the kind of thing that you just slip into because you don't really care that much. You think you might just get lucky. And there'll be no one to organise you, and you won't be able to rely on each other for solidarity because, well, you're just not made that way. You don't think that way. The people who already have a religion, those Jews, those Muslims, they can do it better than you, but you don't think you need a decent religion, do you? You think you can just keep mucking along, as the saying goes, just mucking along. Low standards, low expectations. Despicable, really, but that's how things are, and that's why your women despise you.